Here on the coast of Norway, we are so close to freedom and so far from it. It's 2 years since the Germans came here in 1940. And since then, they have built defenses all along our coast. They are very strong and very sure of themselves.
For the Allies, the west coast of Europe is the edge of a dark world we cannot enter. Only in the north, where the Germans are thinnest on the ground, can we send commandos to hit and run before the Luftwaffe can be brought against them.
The Vikings played this sort of muck's game hundreds of years ago. They had no perishing air cover either.
These remote targets are beyond the range of our fighters. But parachute troops can be dropped on the enemy coast and smuggled back by the Navy. The red beret follows the green. Combined operations against Hitler's Europe have begun.
Last year, the Lofotens and Spitsbergen. This year, Bruneval. At Bruneval, they have a radar station which we must take back in pieces to England. The Boffins want to study it, and we must learn how to destroy the many others which stand along the coast against our invasion.
Other jobs are easier. Just bring out the local resistance boys and blow up anything Jerry might find useful. Then Scarpa.
The Luftwaffe are never far away, and beyond our fighter range, even their second-line planes are dangerous. Our men must be gone before the strafing starts.
And our men, too. Some have gone with the commandos, some must face the North Sea on their own. The Germans will make short work of any who stay too long.
U-boat, U-boat! This is a British submarine! Who are you?
In English. We are Norwegians. Can you take us to England?
Yes. Hurry up and come alongside.
Aircraft right behind us, starboard bows.
Dive, dive, dive!
Dive, dive, dive!
We know by now that without air supremacy, we cannot put forces into the narrow seas without great danger. But our allies want us to open a second front. So now another, heavier raid goes out to try our strength against the coast of France. The date is August the 19th, 1942. The objective, Dieppe.
We know. We have ears in England. The Luftwaffe is ready. The Wehrmacht is moving in. They will not get beyond the beaches.
But while our fighters hold back the German Air Force, the German army at Dieppe settles behind its concrete emplacements and waits. Canadian infantry and armor, British and French commandos. They have not got beyond the beaches, and 4,000 will not return, nor over 100 British planes. And this is only a raid, only a taste of the battle still to be fought over Hitler's Europe.
For us in Britain, these are stalemate months. We dance with uniforms in an armed camp. War's no longer an adventure, but a way of living.
Hello, gunfire in the southeast. Right.
These are the months of the Baedeker raids and bad news from abroad, of too little hope and too much work, without any sign of relief.
One moment, please. I am informed that there are enemy aircraft overhead. I adjourn the court to the basement, and the case will proceed there.
Silence in court.
But behind the routine of the present, our plans are drawn for the future. Churchill has spoken of the tools for war. In the first year, you get nothing. In the second, a trickle. In the third, a flood. This is the third year. After 3 years of defense, we are preparing for an attack that will not fail.
If we are to land in force on the enemy's territory and stay there, we must take with us an air arm strong enough to beat the German on his own ground. For this, we must have more aircraft, mobilize more air crew and ground crew, more airmen and air women.
We learn late, but we learn. We've been taught the meaning of air power the hard way. We are tougher than we were, and smarter, air women and air crew. A nation of tradesmen has mastered the new trades of war.
Over in Canada, we contribute to a setup called the Empire Air Training Scheme. They've got the same scheme now in the States and in Africa, and all the Commonwealth countries are churning out airmen too. We start from scratch. We teach them how to find the way around the sky and how to handle all the gear they're loaded up with. We teach them how to walk and how to jump. Finally, we teach them how to drive an aeroplane. We put them into link trainers and show them how to fly blind. Then we put them into the air.
Some men and some women will fly anything, anywhere. They call themselves ferry pilots. Officially, they're the Air Transport Auxiliary. They take the new planes to the new squadrons. With this added strength in the air, a new offensive can be launched. Not yet against Europe, but against North Africa. Operation Torch will be mounted by the combined forces of Britain and America. Landings will be made at Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers. French forces in North Africa may join them. Then they will drive eastwards through Tunisia and break the Africa Corps between their front and the 8th Army advancing from El Alamein. Until airfields can be established in Algeria, air cover will come from the Fleet Air Arm and from the Royal Air Force Base at Gibraltar. November 1942. The Gibraltar airstrip has been lengthened, built out like a pier into the sea. Dispersal areas have been made for 600 aircraft. Bombers fly in from Britain and fighters are shipped in crates. In 9 days, 122 Hurricanes and Spitfires are unpacked and assembled. American aircraft stand beside the British, the beginnings of the U.S. 12th Air Force. November the 7th, troop ships enter the straits and turn towards the African coast. Operation Torch has begun.
Our furthest east is Algiers. We go in with the British, waving the stars and stripes to impress the French garrison, and the French commander hands over his fortress to us. But it's airstrips we want, and we get them.
A servicing commando party of the R.A.F. has marched from the beaches to open up the Algiers airfield for our fighters. And by breakfast time, the first squadron of Harriers from Gibraltar has touched down. This time, we're here to stay.
This is not enemy territory. These are citizens of France, torn between us and their puppet government in Vichy. And while they cheer, commanders and politicians transfer allegiance. Algiers joins the Allies. Now we have another country to protect, another front to form. We have only 2 days before the Germans strike. On November the 9th, the Battle of North Africa is joined.
December. We have fought off the bombers and reached Tunisia. But now the weather's breaking. Soon our airfields will be deep in mud, our aircraft grounded. The Germans have stopped us dead. We shan't get any further down the road this year.
As the Allies stop, we counterattack. Rommel's Afrika Korps in the south and von Arnhem's forces in the north push back the Allied lines. Now we have reinforcements and can match them gun for gun, man for man. Their aircraft are grounded, but ours still fly from our concrete runways. The Stukas are at work again.
This is the Luftwaffe's last throw, and it can't stop us. The 8th Army turns the Mareth line and drives on towards Tunis.
The enemy has opened the New Year's fighting, but we will finish it. As the mud dries to dust on Algerian runways, our air striking forces go into action. The Axis troops in Tunisia are now ringed round by our squadrons: British, Commonwealth, American, French, Greek, the Northwest African Air Force, and the Desert Air Force, all united under a new Air Commander-in-Chief, Mediterranean, Air Chief Marshal Tedder. On the 5th of March, 1943, Tedder writes,
"One senses a growing feeling of cohesion and concentration. I think the enemy also senses it."
Our brief is straightforward. Finish off the Axis forces in Africa. Bomb their airfields, knock down their planes, sink their ships, and strap their armies in the field. This is what Rommel has to say about us.
British air supremacy has thrown to the winds all our operations and tactical rules. The strength of the Anglo-American Air Force has been the deciding factor. March the 5th, 1943. 242 Group have flown 1,000 sorties against the Germans in the north. March the 21st, 412 sorties flown by the Desert Air Force against the Afrika Korps in the south.
April the 20th. Northwest African Air Force fly over 1,000 sorties against enemy airfields.
The enemy has started to withdraw his remaining planes to Europe. All the sky is ours. And now our target is the shrinking Axis foothold around Tunis.
Daylight bombing isn't all beer and skittles. We have our casualties.
The price paid in the air has its reward upon the ground. Our armies close in. The 8th Army is still fighting its way from Egypt across Africa, meets the U.S. 2nd Corps driving in from the west. Now there is only one front left in the desert as India and America join hands. The Africa Corps, kaput. Rommel has gone. The Allied commanders plan for the last offensive. This is the battle state at the end of April. The German and Italian armies are sealed in here around Tunis. The 8th Army and the French are pushing up from the south. The British 1st Army is attacking from the west. The American 2nd Corps has been switched to the north. The line of battle is complete. The 7th of May, 1943, the desert rats reached Tunis. Air Chief Marshal Tedder, to all ranks of the Allied Air Forces.
You've shown the world the unity and strength of air power. We face our next job with the knowledge that we've thrashed the enemy and the determination to thrash him again.
Goose step like the Stuka has gone out of date. Of 600,000 men poured into Tunisia to keep their place in the sun, all are lost. There is no Dunkirk for the Germans and Italians. Only the cemetery, the hospital, the cage. It doesn't always pay to start a war.
In Malta, we shall build a monument to the airmen who died in the Mediterranean War and who have no grave. For 3 years, we lived under the shadow of the fascists and the Nazis. Now we are free again. Those who still live in Hitler's Europe are not so fortunate, but their day will come.